going on, y'all? It's LJ. And once again, it's time to share the stack of vinyl that spent the most time on the turntable in May. We're a couple weeks removed from that, but you know how things go with the nicer weather. It just brings on a whole lot of projects and creates a whole lot of scheduling crunches. I love these kinds of videos, to see what other people have been spinning, to share what I have, and to see how the themes kind of start to develop. How one album can be way over here, and then the next album you spin influences the rest of the stack. Absolutely love those videos. Absolutely love hearing from you guys down below or in your own videos about what you've been spinning. But to kick things off, from 2008, here's AC/DC's Black Ice. Now, I mean, just think about it. How cool is it that you can just pick up any AC/DC album and it just sounds right? You know, it's like a one-night stand. You just know what you're in for. You'll like some tunes more than others, but they'll not do anything to send you south. Black Ice is packed front to back with killer tracks like Big Jack, Anything Goes, War Machine, Wheels. I mean, it's just classic AC/DC. Anyone that says this album sucks, or isn't a fun spin, or isn't up to par, is most likely president and now last standing member of the Axl Rose fan club. That one's got absolutely nothing in common with this one. This one just happens to be one of my absolute favorite albums. From 1984, this is Jag Panzer's Ample Destruction. Jag Panzer are Colorado natives, and here, man, they lay out a criminally overlooked US power metal classic. Every bit as epic as any early Dickinson-fronted Iron Maiden album. Harry Conklin's vocals aren't even that far off from Bruce's, to be honest with you. This was America's true answer to Iron Maiden, and the perfect parallel to, like, the debut from Fate's Warning, Night on Brocket. Oh man, this one's ballsy, catchy, and perfectly produced. And this reissue from, I don't know, 3 or 4 years back, it ends with a couple of bonus radio spots from 1984, which pretty much just complete the time warp that you have, you know, pulling your battle jacket out of the closet and think you're still hearing your parents stomp on the floor and tell you to turn the damn thing down. Absolutely fantastic album. Love this one. Again, continuing a path with no parallels yet established, just grabbing albums that cross my mind, I see or hear about somewhere, and decide to spin. From 1980, this is Samson's Head On. Okay, but speaking of Bruce Dickinson, here's the second full-length from Samson, and Bruce's own debut 2 years before joining Iron Maiden. Here, he's still called Bruce Bruce. This is an original UK first pressing on Gem Records, and this is textbook new wave of British heavy metal. Not too dissimilar maybe to like early Tigers of Pantang. Bruce's vocals were a great fit, and they weren't yet operatic like they'd become in Iron Maiden years later. Always loved Paul Samson's solos, and Thunderstick's drum work, that's him on the cover all dolled up ready to meet your mother. Crisp killer. Another fantastic album. Absolute classic. Next one's not an album at all. It's a cassette. From 1993, here's Nuclear Assault. Now this is leaps and bounds ahead of 1991's Out of Order. And now with only half the original band in tow, Nuclear Assault comes out of the gate no different than Anthrax, Testament, or even Metallica were doing at the time. And that's to say, slower, but every bit as heavy and still recognizable. Easily the most accessible Nuclear Assault album you could ever ask for or ever recorded by the band. You don't have to be a Thrash fan to get into this one, although you'd be cheating yourself out of everything else they ever released in the process if you didn't check that out as well. Jumping back on the power metal train from 1985, and this is another album I can just pull off the shelf any day, any week, any month out of any of the years that it's been here and just spin it and love it. From 1985, this is the debut album from Vicious Rumors, Soldiers of the Night. Like Metal Church a year before, an absolutely perfect US power metal debut. This is everything Shrapnel Records was all about. Guitar whiz kid Vinnie Moore and Jeff Thorpe light it up with a dual attack, and Gary St. Pierce's mid-range vocals and even the occasional "well" on the album. The only album he recorded with them, they just fit perfectly. Now, Carl Albert replaced Gary for the follow-up, an equally excellent album, Digital Dictator. Now, based on those two alone, these guys should have been every bit as huge as Megadeth. You know, some things just belong in the underground, y'all, and Vicious Rumors is still rattling windows to this day. Are you ready for the Murderous Metal Roadshow? Lizzie Borden is. From 1986, this is the Murderous Metal Roadshow. Now, with only one EP and one full-length album behind him, Lizzie Borden stepped right out on the edge. They knew they had what it took, and this is very early to release a live album. And then thank God they did, because it captured all that raw energy a new, young, and hungry band has. Every bit as good as albums that are highly regarded like Maiden's Live After Death, and packing a couple killer new studio tracks. This has always been my go-to Lizzie Borden album. I love them all, but this is just the one I grab. The only downside is the useless cover of Live and Let Die. For what it's worth though, Lizzie Borden not only did it 5 years before Guns N' Roses, but they also did it better.
Am I evil? Yes, I am!
From 1982, so was Diamond Head. Oh yeah, this is the second full-length and one that adds a more early 80s metal sound to the new wave of British heavy metal vibe of their 1980 debut, Lightning to the Nations. Melodic, catchy, heavy, and packing re-recorded versions of 2 tracks from that debut, along with just classic Rodney Matthews artwork. Sean Harris's vocals are dead on. You just can't not love them. Brian Tatler is a riff warehouse, and Duncan Scott's drums kick your front teeth in. A gold stamp promotional copy that I'm happy to own. No collection is complete without some classic Diamond Head. Then came 1990, then came Mesro, and then came The Killing. One of the absolute worst covers ever that does nothing to say heavy metal, although I've definitely seen worse. It's the debut, and sadly the only album from a Swedish band that perfected the late 80s Bay Area thrash sound right out of the gate. Predictable but reliable, and performed with diamond-like precision, and produced right down the middle exactly as it should be. This one overflowing with traces of early Metallica, Violent by Nature era Atrophy. I finally scored this about a year ago, and I haven't been able to stop spinning it since. If Testament had a twin brother living 5,368 miles away, it would be Mesro. And so you find yourself with Vicious Rumors, you find yourself with Mesro, and you find yourself in 1986 with Dark Angel's debut, Darkness Descends. This is an original Combat pressing and another gold stamp promotional copy. You know, at the height of my Megadeth, Metallica, and Anthrax worship, I didn't connect with this one right out of the gate when it was new. It didn't work for me, I didn't like it. I had the same opinion as some others at the time that it was just too manic. You know, the speed for speed's sake. Now, proof that most things are worth at least a second glance, it grew on me over the next couple of years that followed. The songs opened up, became memorable, and today, man, I love it. An out-and-out thrash metal classic. I've had this copy long enough to have paid only a couple of bucks for years and years ago at a time where today's vinyl hipsters were all still spinning their CDs. And so next off the shelf that's been spending some serious time on the turntable, from 1974 and from UFO, here's Phenomenon. This is Michael Schenker's debut with, and UFO's turn away from its space rock past and starts to shift into high gear. Now, a lot of people, and maybe even you, consider this UFO's greatest studio album. But for me, it just varies in tempo way too much to grab that title. They've definitely done a tremendous amount of better stuff. Fist bumping 1 minute, restrained the next, rinse, repeat. Now that doesn't mean Schenker's leads and melodies aren't fantastic, or that Filmov's vocals aren't classic rock perfect, because they are. And the album is great. It's full of fantastic tracks like Rock Bottom, Doctor Doctor, and Oh My. Now, sequenced differently, I'd probably spin it more often, but I still love it, and that's why it's off the shelf. Now clearly Spinnin' Phenomenon was responsible for the 1982 release Live at Budokan from Michael Schenker Group coming off the shelf. Michael was fresh from UFO and a brief second stint with the Scorpions. Schenker's new band absolutely blows the roof off the Budokan. The first two studio LPs, and this one with Gary Barden at the mic and Cozy Powell at the drum kit, man, they're just killer. Early 80s metal records. Tracks like Cry for the Nations and I Want More just explode live. And with all the punch and pull, pinch and squeeze and slap and tickle you could ask for in a live album. A time-tested Saturday night favorite, and one no early 80s metal collection is complete without. Sure, it can be metal all of the time, or it can be metal most of the time, but every now and then, you gotta change it up a little bit, and I definitely do. And here's a good example of that. From 1977, here's the second full-length album from the Babies. They are a UK power pop band, and home to one of my favorite late 70s pop rock tracks, Isn't It Time? This is the last album with the original lineup, and Jonathan Cain would join for the next two albums before he jumped ship to Journey. And vocalist John Waite, most know, went on to 80s one-hit wonder status. Now, from the restrained verses, escalating bridges, and bombastic choruses of Isn't It Time, to the blues-tinged Golden Mile, which actually kind of reminds me a little of a Cinderella track, to the pop rock undertone that flows throughout the entire thing, it's an absolutely infectious album from a nearly forgotten band that's only recently resurfaced.
Holding you is a warmth that I thought I could never find. Just trying to decide. I'll stay by your side. I know I could. I just can't find answers to the questions that keep going through my mind.
And that's it, y'all. And now you know what I was busy spinning in the month of May. A bit of a time crunch, but you always gotta clear and find time to spin. Use the comments below. Let me know what you think of some of these. Let me know what you've been spinning in May and what you've got on deck in June. And I'll see you in the next video. Later.